Hey there, 8th graders. Welcome to today's Explainer, Celestial Scales, Mastering Scientific Notation in God's Order. We are about to embark on a pretty incredible journey today. We're going to bridge the gap between the vast, awe-inspiring cosmos out there and the math sitting right in front of you on your desk. We'll be diving into a heroesmartacademy lesson to see how the absolute biggest structures in the universe and the tiniest building blocks of life actually share the exact same mathematical language. So get ready, because what we're covering today is literally going to change how you view large numbers, complex data, and really the whole world around you.
Section 1. Counting the stars and seeing God's massive order. Okay, let's dive into this by just looking up. I want you to imagine a super clear night sky way out in the country away from the city lights, where the stars just seem to go on forever. The sheer scale of creation is staggering, isn't it? I mean, to our human eyes, it can feel totally chaotic or just impossible to measure. But Psalm 147 verse 4 tells us, He determines the number of the stars and calls them each by name. Just think about that for a second. Even the biggest, most unimaginably huge numbers, like the billions and billions of stars out there, can be perfectly named, categorized, and counted within God's massive order. Nothing is too vast to be understood. And you know what? That exact same principle applies perfectly to the math we're tackling today.
Moving on to Section 2. The language of science and why scientific notation matters.
So this brings us to the practical side of things. We've looked at the cosmic wonder, but now we really need to talk about why scientific notation actually matters for you, both in your everyday studies and, honestly, in your future careers. Let's consider the extremes we're dealing with here. On one hand, you've got the millions of kilometers it takes to travel to Mars. Absolutely massive. On the other, you have the microscopic size of a single human cell. If you tried to write these numbers out in standard form, your hand would literally cramp up from writing endless strings of zeros. It's just overwhelming. So scientific notation is basically the essential language that scientists, engineers, and mathematicians use to take those crazy extremes and make them totally workable.
All right, Section 3, Mastering the Rules. Let's dive in. Let's see how this actually works in practice. And the best part? Knowing how to convert these numbers means you won't even need to rely on a calculator for every little step. You can do this right on your paper. The mechanics are beautifully simple, and they always follow two core steps. Step 1, you shrink your giant, or tiny number, down into a single number that is at least 1, but less than 10. You do this just by sliding the decimal point. Step 2, you multiply that new number by a power of 10. That power of 10 is basically a neat little tracker that remembers exactly how many spaces you move that decimal. It's just a super organized way of keeping things tidy.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how one tiny, simple mathematical sign instantly reveals the massive scale of whatever you're looking at. If you see a positive exponent attached to your power of 10, like 10 to the third power, boom, you immediately know you are dealing with a big number, something massive. But if you spot a negative exponent, that tells you right away that you are dealing with tiny, microscopic numbers, kind of like that cell we talked about a minute ago. A quick glance at that plus or minus sign tells you the whole story of the scale.
And here are your golden rules for actually doing math with these numbers. It's all about pairing the right steps together. When you need to multiply, you multiply the base numbers and then you simply add the exponents. When you need to divide, you divide the base numbers and you subtract the exponents. Multiply and add, divide and subtract. It's that easy. These incredibly simple steps turn extremely complex math into something wonderfully quick, clean, and elegant.
Which brings us to Section 4. Let's practice together and proving the method. Hearing the rules is one thing, right? But let's actually prove they work. Take a solid, everyday number like 78,000. To tame that thing, we move the decimal 4 spots to the left to get 7.8. That leaves us with a clean 7.8 times 10 to the 4th power. And it works exactly the same with our operations. When multiplying 2 times 10 to the 3rd by 3 times 10 to the 2nd, you just multiply the 2 and 3 to get 6, add the 3 and 2 to get 5, and you have 6 times 10 to the 5th. When dividing, just divide those bases and subtract the exponents. 4 divided by 2 is 2, 6 minus 3 is 3, giving us 2 times 10 to the 3rd. It flawlessly translates messy standard forms into beautifully simple scientific notation.
Okay, Section 5. Your turn. Let's do some homework and test your knowledge.
All right, you've seen the proof, so now I'm passing the baton to you. Here are 5 challenges to really lock in what you've just mastered. I highly recommend you pause this explainer right now, grab a pencil, and conquer these. Keep a close eye on challenge number 1. Remember your rule for tiny numbers and negative exponents. From converting back and forth to multiplying and dividing, you're going to be putting everything we just covered to the test. And for number 5, sum it all up in one sentence. Take your time. You absolutely have all the tools you need to solve these perfectly.
And finally, Section 6, Education with Biblical Morality, the True Purpose of Learning.
As we wrap up the math mechanics of our lesson today, I want to zoom out for a second and talk about the deeper philosophy behind the Heroes Smart Academy Godly Learners series. This brings us right to the true purpose of learning. The curriculum gives us a profoundly important warning. Intertwining biblical morality with education is absolutely vital, because education without morality will hurt. It's a pretty striking concept when you think about it. You can have literally all the scientific knowledge in the world. You can calculate the exact distance to the stars or the precise size of a human cell. But if your education is stripped of a moral compass, it can lead to very painful choices for yourself and for the people around you.
The text connects this directly to Scripture, specifically Romans 8, verses 6 and 7, which promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. That right there is the ultimate reward for keeping your mind spiritually focused while you learn. True peace isn't found just in getting the right answer on a math test, right? It's found in applying your intelligence with a spirit-led moral foundation. That is what transforms raw data and mathematical rules into actual wisdom.
So I want to leave you with this final, really provocative question. What is the point of being smart and supposedly educated if you just continue to make bad choices that hurt? It's something we all need to deeply reflect on. True intelligence is ultimately defined by moral, godly choices, not just standard forms and exponents. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep practicing your math, keep marveling at the sheer vastness of the universe, and more importantly, keep your mind focused on the things that truly matter. I'll catch you next time.